KTNA, experts in apprenticeships, traineeships and work-based training.
Hello and welcome to Chris & Co, the show looking at what affects business in Kent. With me, Chris Price. Joining me this week are Ruth Duncan, Director of Business Advisory, RNFBA, and Alan Redding, founder of Maidstone Business Networking. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll discuss the rate of house building in Kent and how a load of shipping containers is helping to tackle the shortage of office space in the county. First, we're looking at a source of huge disappointment for shoppers and businesses alike. Waitrose announced it scrapped plans to open what would have been its biggest store in Kent. The £14 million site at Eclipse Park in Maidstone would have created 200 jobs had it opened as planned in spring next year. Harry Peat has the details.
This is all that stands on the site where the proposed multi-million-pound Waitrose was meant to be built. If the Waitrose had gone ahead as planned here in Eclipse Park, it would have been the biggest one in Kent, and with that it would have also brought a big amount of jobs, with 200 expected to have been created with the opening of the new store. But with those jobs going, that's not the only big sacrifice. To make way for the new supermarket, a 550 space park and ride system between here and Sittingbourne has also been completely demolished behind me to make way for the site where the supermarket would have stood. A spokesperson told KMTV, Waitrose has recently reviewed all their development opportunities and it is with disappointment that we are unable to proceed with the site at Eclipse Park. The developer is now considering other options for bringing forward development of the site. Gallagher boss Nick Yandel echoed these thoughts. He said, "We can see that the retail sector is changing very fast and different companies are dealing with it in different ways. It is not the biggest surprise for us, and we have had 4 different inquiries from different retail companies in the last months about the site."
A number of local people would have been employed there, but from around Maidstone I would think there's quite a substantially high number of people would. Some of them would be part-time, some would be students, but a lot would be full-time. And I think that's disappointment, because I think those jobs are still needed around here.
Plans were drawn up for a 1-storey shop with around 300 car parking spaces at Eclipse Park. The idea of the new Waitrose was a popular one, with planning being approved in November of last year and was then set to open in 2018.
This was so well supported. I only had one objection come in, but loads and loads of people, either by email or verbally, told me that we'll look forward to it.
Looking at the recent popularity figures, Tesco is still top dog, with Sainsbury's and Asda just behind as the nation's favourites, with Morrison's and discount store Aldi following them. This year, German retailer Lidl overtook Waitrose for the first time, jumping to 7th on the nation's most popular supermarkets. But for now, it looks like the site at Eclipse Park, like the Waitrose plans, will stay abandoned. Harry Peat for KMTV.
OK, so how big a blow is this for Maidstone to lose a development like Waitrose at Eclipse Park?
I suppose it is a bit of a blow, but from my point of view, as I live locally, the traffic and the infrastructure is just not there for all the shoppers to be there, especially that size. But a loss of jobs is not good.
No, but it actually might have some benefits for the local community, perversely. I mean, obviously they've lost the park and ride that was going to be there. That was there. That got bulldozed to make way for this store. Now that's not gone. So it's adding to those kind of traffic problems around the area that you experienced.
I actually lost one of my staff. Well, she did move for other reasons, but she was moaning about the fact that the park and ride there went because she used to park there and get the bus into the town centre. So yeah, it's a big issue, traffic in Maidstone.
Have we seen the end of the big supermarket? I mean, everything's sort of moving more towards convenience, and you know, a company like Waitrose is clearly worried about making an investment on a big site like that.
I think it would have been a good move to have it there, and I think that we haven't at the last of such size of stores. And I think they're good stores because you go there for a lot more things. When you keep popping into smaller stores, you don't have the range, do you?
Should Waitrose have made this announcement sooner? I mean, like we say, they knocked down that park and ride. This kind of change that we're talking about in supermarkets has been around for a while. I mean, this is a big loss, you know, a relatively short period of time for a local community who are hoping to get a load of jobs.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that is a great shame. And I really think that the planning process suddenly goes very, very slow and suddenly cuts off at the end, doesn't it? That's where the problem is. But it's a shame it's not still on the agenda, because I think if you put it to a vote, more people would go for it than against it. Having said that, these days the votes only tend to be 51 to 49, don't they? So maybe not a vote.
OK, we'll see. Moving on now, commuters into London have been relaxing in leather seats and looking out of their windows at famous landmarks in the capital. Unfortunately, this is not news that train franchises are getting their act together, but that a trial river service is carrying passengers from the county to work uptown. MBNA Thames Clippers launched its tester route from Gravesend Town Pier to various stops, including Canary Wharf and Tower Hill this week. Cameron Tucker jumped on board.
It's the first day of a 4-day Gravesend to central London trial on MBNA Thames Clippers.
There's a bit of a misconception the river can be cold and windy and wet, but as you can see today, we're in a climate-controlled cabin. Customers get a dedicated seat, a leather seat. They can enjoy a coffee and a pastry on board on the way to work. So it's a very unique way of commuting into London.
There's been a desire to trial this route for many years, and we've always had a lot of support from Gravesham, Thurrock and Erith councils.
I board the inaugural sailing from Gravesend Town Pier, starting my stopwatch at 7:15. Almost an hour in, and we come into Tower Hill. While we do go past several Thameside attractions, there are queries from customers about the viability of the service.
For me, it would just have to be cheaper than the train, and then I'd be well up for it.
We haven't been told if it would travel in fog yet.
Trains from Gravesend to certain stations in the capital are still going to be the quickest route, but Mr Collins says that depends on the destination.
Anyone else from Canary Wharf?
It's not necessarily all about time, but equally it's accessibility. If you're within 10 minutes walking distance of the pier, getting from St Pancras to that is not an easy task. Very congested undergrounds, whereas this would take you more point to point.
Those on the trial will fill out a questionnaire on possible prices and stops before MBNA can put forward a business case for getting commuters to swap wheels for water. Cameron Tucker, KMTV.
OK, so Alan, would you catch the boat up the Thames to London?
I think I would. I think the problem for me might, if I had to go to London, thankfully I don't, but the problem may be that going every day in the boat may get a bit tight or a bit monotonous one way or the other. I don't know what time is involved. How long does the boat take as against how long does the train take?
About an hour.
Oh, really?
Boat, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, well, that maybe that's more attractive then. I think the other thing is we've got to remember that not everybody in the train is going to work. Somebody may be going up for a full day's tourism, and they prefer to go that time of the morning because they get longer in London, of course.
Sure.
So I think there's a variety of reasons there. Surely the boat's got to be more pleasurable somehow, hasn't it?
Yeah. Is that the only sort of thing that will really attract people to that kind of route, as opposed to train or the bus or driving? Is it just the sort of comfort aspect?
I think it's more what you see when you're in the seat and what goes by, as it were, what scenery goes by. I tend to use my car for everything, and on the times I do go to London, it seems to be getting heavier and heavier and heavier. But with all the diabolical situations that I don't know whether it's the unions or who it is, but whoever's letting those things go on, they've really not handled any of it well at all, have they?
I mean, there's been no firm commitment from the Thames Clippers operator to actually genuinely go ahead with this. They are saying that this is a trial run. Do you think that actually, realistically, could you see a service like this operating and it genuinely taking commuters every day from Gravesend? Would you like to see it extend a bit further down into Kent? I don't know.
I would. I think that's good, yeah.
I think it's quite a good idea. I probably wouldn't be using it because it's the wrong side of Kent for me. So if they did move it further down, off to sort of, I don't know how the Medway River would, with the locks and everything, would sort of do that. But yeah, if they moved it a bit further, I probably would give it a try. Probably just for pleasure though, not for work.
Okay, well we'll see if it does take off. Next, how high-speed rail has made big returns for the county, and model train maker Hornby is going off the rails again. Here's Joanna Earle with this week's Business Roundup.
High-speed rail services in Kent have added more than £300 million to the local economy since launching a decade ago, according to a new report. It also says nearly 6,000 jobs have been created in the tourism sector as more people travel to and from the county. HS1, which links London St Pancras to the Channel Tunnel, opened in November 2007. A pensions and investments company has bought a 7.5% stake in Bluewater Shopping Centre. Royal London Insurance Society has acquired the share of the mall, which was formerly owned by the £30 billion asset manager Hermes Investment Management. The shopping centre, which is valued at £2 billion, is seen as a sound long-term investment for pension groups and asset managers. The troubled toy firm Hornby suffered a collapse in its share price on Monday after announcing it's lost its third chief executive in 4 years. The model maker said Steve Cook and its majority shareholder Phoenix UK Fund had mutually agreed he would step down. It comes less than a week after the sandwich-based company issued yet another profit warning following poor sales over the summer. And figures show the number of people on unemployment benefits in Kent remained just below 19,000 last month, but the figure for older and younger claimants increased. There were 15 more claimants of either job seekers allowance or universal credit in the county in August, bringing the total to 18,970. According to the Office for National Statistics, more young people began claiming in Kent, with 65 more 16 to 24-year-olds on the benefits. There was also a large rise in those over 50, up 55.
OK, so lots of news there, and particularly interesting about the unemployment situation for young people and older people. A big gap there and lots to find out. Coming up, we're heading to one of Kent's largest housing developments, and we see what life is like when you base your business on top of a shipping container. We'll be right back. The show looking at what affects business in Kent, where I'm joined by Ruth Duncan from Business Advisory RNFBA and Alan Redding from Maidstone Business Networking. More new houses are being built in Kent than anywhere else in the South East. Figures from the government show about 5,000 new builds were completed in the county last year, but the rate of construction is still lagging well behind targets set by ministers. Peters Village is a development where construction for more than 1,000 new homes is underway. Louisa Britton reports.
Last year, more than 5,000 new homes were completed in the county. These government figures for 2016 to 2017 put Kent at the top of the list for new builds in the whole of the South East. Peters Village is one such development near Waltham, which will be completed on this former brownfield site in a few years' time. When construction work is finished here at Peters Village, this 200-acre site will be home to 1,000 new homes. But not only that, there'll also be a supermarket, shops and a village hall, making it a whole new village on the banks of the River Medway. The project, which originated more than 15 years ago, already saw the new £18 million bridge open last year over the River Medway.
So along with new houses in Peters Village, there will also be a supermarket, a community centre, a new school and other public amenities that are vital for village life.
All the properties here are available with Help to Buy, with prices starting at £269,000. But Orbit aren't the only developers to see the potential the county has to offer house building companies. It's understood the UK's population growth, as well as the county's proximity to London, are examples of why Kent is so high up on the list of counties building new houses. It's a launch event for the development. TV presenter Nikki Chapman, who's from Kent, was there to promote the county.
I think it's really important for any county to have new builds at the moment. We do have a housing shortage, but what I absolutely love about my home county, why I'm particularly proud, is really its location. I mean, Kent's known as the Garden of England, and when you're driving around you can see why. But not only do you have that sort of rural idyll, should you want it, you have the convenience of the City of London on your doorstep. It's less than 30 miles away. You've also got the gateway to Europe, great transport links. So in a way, it's the balance.
So with this development properly underway and due to be completed in the early 2020s, it seems it won't be long until Kent sees a whole new village pop up by the River Medway, adding yet another 1,000 new builds to Kent's landscape. This is Louisa Britton for KMTV.
Okay, so Ruth, they held a massive launch event there for Peter's Village. Does that in itself show that having a development is a big story and we're perhaps not building houses at the rate that we need to be in Kent?
Possibly. I don't quite know why they had to have such a big splash. I mentioned before about Langley, and we've got 3 big housing developments there. I don't recall them having a big splash about those. So I don't know if there was something particular, maybe because it's combined with the bridge, it's over that sort of Medway side of the county. But I think, as Alan said before, it's whether the houses are affordable more than anything else. My 23-year-old son is still at home. I'd love for him to be able to go out and move out and get his own place, and he just simply can't afford to.
Well, this is the issue. I mean, the starting price for these new homes at Peter's Village is £269,000. Is that the kind of level that's affordable for the people who this house building sort of effort is focused towards?
There's got to be a lot more lower prices in smaller houses, and we need to do that very quickly, because I've still got a cousin whose 34-year-old son only moved out last week, and that just seems such a waste of the way that people develop within their lives. And I think that we need to make it so that younger people can immediately get into a house. I'm trying to think how old I was when I got mine. I was always a little bit behind the mortgage level, but one way or the other. But I think by the time I was 24, I was there. But it was hard. But at least there were places that I could just about get into. One
of the comments from Nicky Chapman there was that Kent's ideally situated because it's close to London, also close to the continent. I mean, is Kent just becoming a commuter area for, people from London can't afford the prices in London, so they're moving out to Kent? Is that going to push people out from Kent? I mean, does that cause problems for businesses trying to recruit locally? I don't know.
I wouldn't have said so. I think that Kent, you're right. It's between London that people like to go there and they move from there. I moved from London to come to Kent, partly because Paris was just across the bit of water. And I think it's ideally situated. I don't think that people are moving away from Kent. They are maybe creating larger pockets of types of people. Village people will automatically group into a village, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, different areas have got different people. I think it's a natural place for London people to come to.
Sure. OK, guys, thanks very much for your thoughts on that. Moving on now. New businesses often complain about how difficult it is to find offices just the right size for a burgeoning company, where they can also meet other like-minded firms. For one council, the answer was giving planning approval for a £1 million plush new riverside development on top of shipping containers. Louisa Britton had a look around.
These shipping containers might have previously been transporting goods across the sea, but are now being used as offices for local companies in Medway, as the new £1 million innovation studios were officially opened this morning. With the Medway economy being worth almost £5 million and more than 17,000 businesses in the area, the council believes this development will help meet the demands of the expanding business landscape.
Today was obviously a landmark to actually sort of open the site. Although we actually full up, all 15 business units have actually been reserved or been taken.
It's very exciting because Medway has a very diverse business community, and there aren't always the places that people need to go. We value what they do because it's increased employment, it's begun to raise the overall salary scales, and they are so important. They're our lifeblood.
15 offices along with 18 storage units have been built here on the banks of the river to accommodate a variety of businesses. One of them is start-up company People Who Foster.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, we spent a long time looking for office space in Rochester, Medway, right across Medway, and we just couldn't find the right place. It's a really good space inside a container, shipping container, I would never have thought about having a shipping container as an office, but it works really well.
The innovative build started in February on a previously unused piece of land.
These are shipping containers that have done some work at sea, if you like, taken out of the logistics network, brought to our factory, converted in accordance with building regulations and the designs, brought onto site here, completely finished, craned in, stacked on top of each other, just like they do on the ships, clad, finished, and then plugged in. And then let to the businesses. The system has been around for a little while. I think you're seeing a lot of increase in the use of this system, really in terms of what it can deliver. It's robust, it's affordable, it's sustainable, and it's quick to build.
And with these spaces already fully booked, the council have said they're not ruling out considering developing further builds of this kind in the area, a move they hope would help foster more businesses to base themselves in Medway.
Okay, so offices on shipping containers, what will they think of next?
Absolutely. I mean, it's quite a creative solution one way or the other, and I'm a creative, so I do like good creative solutions. I think there's a lot of different places that new companies can start up. I'm sure that most of them start in someone's bedroom or in someone's spare room, and I think this could probably be the next stage on before they need bigger premises still. It's good to see there's the business terrace in Maidstone, for example. That's something that a lot of people go in to start with, and the minute they get their size organised, they can move to the right place. But all these places have got a reason to be there, I think, and this one is slightly more exciting, slightly more unusual, and I think it'll work. I think it's a good idea.
Is this, the kind of place that's going to be the future of commercial property? These sort of small little spots for new companies, because I mean, this kind of thing is not too much of it about.
No, I think they're all going to be different, and I don't see that they're all going to look like this. I'm not necessarily saying that I'd like to see them looking like this. This is a good idea, and smaller units are generally a good idea. There's a lot of buildings that are around that could be divided into this type of arrangement very easily, and I think I'd like to see those used rather than be sitting there not being used.
Yeah. Do you think that that one of the other great things about these places is it's a place where you've got lots of companies of a similar size who can all talk about different ideas, and surely that's one of the key valuable things.
Exactly, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, doing the brainstorming. That's really good. It does remind me of something very similar that they did in London, where they were using housing containers as sort of basically studio flats. I can't quite remember where it was.
Yeah. Guys, thanks very much for your thoughts on that. And before we go, we just have time to reveal our number of the week. And this week's number is 22. That's the number of minutes it takes to process non-EU lorries at the Port of Dover. Its Chief Executive Tim Waggett has called on the government to make customs arrangements a priority in the Brexit negotiations. It takes only 2 minutes to process EU lorries at the port, which account for 99% of traffic, according to Mr Waggett. The port handles about 2.5 million freight lorries each year. So if it takes 22 minutes to check a non-EU lorry and we leave the EU, that looks like it's going to be a heck of a lot of traffic. I mean, this is our politicians getting to the grips with, the real impact of...
No, and I think this is where AI technology could wipe away an awful lot of those minutes, I think, if they just got the right things in place.
Sure. It's a case of hopefully the politicians will actually get on top of things and get things sorted. But guys, thanks very much for coming in today. Thanks very much for your thoughts. That's it for the latest edition of Chris & Co, our show looking at the issues affecting business in Kent. You can keep up to date with all the county's latest business news at kentbusiness.co.uk. And you can follow us on Twitter at Kent Business and join our pages on Facebook and LinkedIn. We have also Prince Evelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
KTNA, experts in apprenticeships, traineeships and work-based training.